very, very scared. And it's remarkable when you think about it that in that parliament this week, you know, there was the president, there were all the commissioners, the leaders of the European socialist groups and all the rest of it. And here's just little me, and yet they're absolutely scared witless. So I'm going to go on scaring them, even if I have to have a short holiday away from the parliament because they suspend me.
Let's talk about his global government comments, because he's really out in the open. You said this week, and I saw it in the news, he's just spouting off about what they're going to do with our lives and how they rule us. Specifically, what was Van Rompuy saying about the global government?
Van Rompuy spoke, and he firstly talked about the need, not just for a single currency in Europe, but for a full economic government of Europe. And that wasn't particularly surprising. He said similar things to that before. But what he said was that he was very encouraged by moves that he'd seen through the G20 and elsewhere, which presumably means the United Nations. He was very encouraged to see that we were now starting to deal with global problems on a global governmental basis. And by that, of course, he means climate change taxes. By that, of course, he means, attitudes towards ultimately tax and spend. So, I mean, this guy, I've never heard anybody inside those EU institutions ever openly talk about world government, talk about global solutions to problems. It's one of those things that's been talked about in the corridors. It is now out in the open, and it just shows you how mad and dangerous these people are, doesn't it?
They're making their move. Nigel Farage, a UK member of the European Union Parliament, will be with us on the other side. We'll give you his party's website. They control the right and the left in England. This is the only real party that has a chance and is winning seats everywhere and really starting to scare the system. We'll be right back. Van Rompuy deserves to be pulled down, deserves to be insulted, to demystify this unelected scallywag. But, I mean, was it your tactic to add some insults so it made even more news, so people would actually look at the facts you laid out about him trying to assassinate sovereignty? A. B, the next time you get to address him, hopefully you would just bring up that I know you have before, that he's unelected, he wants global government, and that his whole carbon system is a fraud. But I know other members of your party in the parliament are also now exposing him. Yeah,
I mean, to be honest with you, this was the first time he'd appeared before the European Parliament. And my plan going in was to basically say, who are you? No one's ever heard of you. How can you have power? How can you have a salary that is bigger than the President of the United States of America? How can you have these 30 staff working for you? How can you have an incredible tax scheme where you only pay 17% income tax? How can you have a €5 million pool of money which you can dip into as and when you like? So that was my plan, was to say that. But I listened to his speech, and it was so boring. It was so dull. It was limp. It was lifeless. It was just so ghastly that's where I suddenly thought, well, what I'm going to have to say is, sir, you have all the charisma of a damp rag.
And let's be clear. Many countries in Europe have over a 50% income tax, France even higher, but the EU made their own jurisdiction where their ministers and bureaucrats pay 17% or lower, so they're exempt from taxes. I mean, this is classic textbook tyranny. Nigel Farage, plug the UK Independence Party website, your strategy across the world to get people to unseat these globalist-controlled puppets.
Yeah, I mean, listeners, find out what we're doing. Go to ukip.org. ukip.org, and you find what we're up to. We are a party that started with nothing. A few of us in a pub in London, and we've taken that on, and last year we came second across the entire UK in the direct elections to the European Parliament. And my message to everybody the world over is do not, under any circumstances, vote for people who will give away your liberalism rights. Do not vote for people who are supporting the growth of global government. If it means going for new candidates, if it means going for new parties, do it. Don't think it's hopeless. It isn't. We're proving it can be done. And when you're doing it, remember that in the end, good will always triumph over tyranny.
And you and many others are the model for others to believe they can have success. We've got almost 40 states, it's at 37, 38 now, moving to declare 10th and 9th Amendment power over the federal government, itself seized by foreign banks and government institutions. And so there is a massive awakening worldwide and all over the planet. The third world 3 months ago wouldn't sign on at Copenhagen. They know the scam. I mean, we've really got the people.
Yeah, the scales are falling. I mean, they really are, aren't they? People do not believe or trust their political classes. They're right not to trust them, and we're now seeing that moving into active, real politics. And hey, to a large extent, what I was able to do this week to the President of the European Parliament is living proof that if something's wrong, you've got to get out there, hold your chin up, and do things differently and fight hard. That's what we've done. We're making progress. I want others to do so right across the world.
And you hadn't been politically active. You just saw this and stood up yourself just a few years ago, and look at all the success you as the progenitor of this have.
I was in business. I don't come from one of these ruling class families or anything like that. I was just an ordinary bloke who just felt that something was horribly wrong, and if there was I felt if there was nobody out there that was prepared to stand up and say the right things, I'd jolly well do it. And in doing so, I've met some good people on the way, people like Lord Monckton, people like Godfrey Bloom, who you've had on your show, and there are others out there who felt like me. So it's been an extraordinary journey. But I tell you what, we're not finished yet. We're going to beat the so-and-sos. We are, if we have the will to stand up and fight, and you're a great example. In the last minute we've got left, an individual website, or how do we support you individually? You have a lot of listeners in England. And give out the UK Independence Party website one more time. Yeah, simply go to ukip.org and you'll see me, you'll see Lord Monckton. If you dig deeper, you'll see our thoughts on our failing education system in Britain. You'll see our thoughts on our failing public healthcare system. We're a party that believes in less government, that believes in small government, that believes in liberty, freedom of the individual, and they're the things we fight for. If you look at ukip.org, you'll see links to all sorts of other things. You'll see links to my own websites, but that's the first place to look. And in closing, I saw another BBC article yesterday about the government secretly bringing in foreigners, and I saw that 6-7 years ago with Tony Blair. I mean, this is a lawless government. Yeah, I'm afraid, we are a relatively small country geographically. Our population is going up at such a rapid rate. We're projected to go up to 70 million by 2020, where we were quite happily settled at 58 million when Mr. Blair came to power in 1997. We haven't got the roads. We haven't got the schools. We haven't got the hospitals. Nigel Farage, deeply worried. We're out of time. Thank you so much, Godspeed, for supporting you.